Hello, hello, beautiful souls. I thought it was time I did my 9-month gastric sleeve surgery update. And it occurred to me that I'm pretty slack on doing these particular updates because life just goes on. After the first 6 months, life becomes a new normal. It's kind of like when you get diagnosed with thyroid disease the first time round, you after a while and all the changes and the weirdness and what's your new normal, life just kind of moves on. So I tend to forget about it for the most part, which I know for me is very lucky because a lot of people don't have as good results as I've had to date. But I do believe that my results have been a direct reflection of how I am navigating my life since I had weight loss surgery. So I have got, where's my list? Let me find my list. Okay. So let's go with the stats first. All right. I have lost to date 50.3 kilograms, which is almost just shy of 111 pounds. I have lost almost 3 meters from my body, which is insane. And that how I make those measurements is I take measurements everywhere, sort of neck, underarm, bust, waist, everywhere, upper arms, lower arms, wrists. And what I do is every fortnight I take that measurement and then I add it all up. So that gives me a running total of where I'm at with how much I've lost. So, which is really, really interesting because some weeks I didn't lose weight or I didn't change measurements in, say, my thighs, but yet my knees, around my knees. But I have lipedema, so there was weight there to lose. So it was really a fascinating thing to track in having so many different measurements. So 3 meters, I've gone from a size 24 to 26 to currently I'm at a size 10 to 12, depending on the brand and the fit and all that kind of hoo-ha. My BMI has gone from a 48 to 29.3. So currently I am now in the overweight category for the first time since I got thyroid disease at 21, which is crazy, right? So what else has changed for me in this time? Let me read my list here. Okay, for the first time in my life, I have an hourglass figure, meaning my bust is the same measurement as my hips. Now, if you know anything about lipedema, it is generally fat deposits on the lower half of the body. So I have always been a pear shape all my life, teenager onwards, because this is a disease you're pretty much born with. But since weight loss surgery, for the first time, I am not a pear anymore, which is really kind of strange. And I don't know why that's going on and what's happening there, but I'm just watching with fascination. But that's something that's changed. I now predominantly follow a carnivore lifestyle because for the little amount of food that I eat, I get more bang for my buck from meat, basically, and I feel better on it. And so the better I feel in that respect, and I am doing all the right things, I'm seeing a doctor, I'm getting everything checked, but it means I don't have to rely on as many potions and lotions and things like that. I can pretty much get everything I need from meat, which, if you've followed me for a long time, you'll know I've been a plant-based advocate for a decade or more. And so to hear myself say that is quite unreal, but it is what it is. And as you learn more, you change things. And I think that the big mistake we make as thyroid people, as people with any kind of chronic disease, is that we stop listening to our bodies and we stop searching as to what our body needs now. So I would like to say that my body needed plant-based for the last, 3 decades of my life. However, I never lost weight during that time. I never reduced my thyroid medication significantly. So perhaps it wasn't what I needed. It was just what my emotions and what my mental capacity needed at the time. So there's different ways of looking at it, right? So I think that if something's not working, even though you believe in it with your whole heart, sometimes you have to look at the complete opposite. Sometimes you have to look at the things that you have said in the past, I will never do that. I met a lady in a business group many years ago now, and that was the first time I'd heard of carnivore and that it was a thing. And I was completely repulsed by it. I was completely put off by it. I didn't understand it. I thought, why would you even do that? Why would you even call yourself that? So I think the things that you have the greatest aversion to are sometimes a little nudge that maybe you need to look a little bit further, because I've never felt better. I have to be honest. I've never found a more simple way of eating. I don't do the organ meats. I don't do all the weird and strange things. I live pretty much on steak, lamb, hamburger, like homemade hamburgers, eggs, not many eggs. Eggs don't agree with me, because I continue to look at what my body wants, not the general carnivore world, or this is what you should be having or shouldn't be. I start with the basics, like I've always said, and then I tweak for me. Then I tweak for how I feel. I watch the scales. Do they go up because I'm holding water? Do they go up because I'm inflamed? I actually don't get stuck on the scales for the reason most people do after VSG surgery. I am looking for confirmation of what I've eaten the previous day. Has it helped me or has it harmed me? So I look at things a little bit differently. It is what it is, right? So, but that's how I know what works for me. All right. So what else has changed? I can walk for miles and do stairs without affecting my knees any longer. So I have 2 titanium knees that came about from some major injuries in my knees, which I didn't know were in there until I had an MRI. And now that I know more about lipedema, many women with lipedema have issues with knees and end up with replacements because of hypermobile joints. So if you're watching this because you have a lipedema and you wonder what's going on with your knees, our joints very easily bend the wrong way or hyperextend, and which can cause the meniscal tears. And I had an ACL rupture. I was walking around, by the time I got an MRI, I was walking around with an ACL rupture, a huge Baker's cyst behind one knee, and between both knees I had about 4 or 5 meniscal tears, and I was still walking around like this thinking, why are my knees so sore? Right? So this is a very common thing with lipedema. But now, and of course, I'm 50 kilos, 110 pounds lighter, my knees are very appreciative that I don't seem to be causing them any problems these days. So my thyroid medication has reduced 4 times since surgery, and I hope to continue that. So with all of the things that I do, I have got a goal. Sure, I've got a goal. Will it come to fruition? Who knows? I'm watching with curiosity, as I have done since the start of this journey. As most people that have had weight loss surgery know, you go into this assuming you are going to be the one person this does not work for. It didn't matter that I'd read studies about lipedema and, the interaction with the gut hormones, and I still don't understand it. So I'm not sure what the interplay is, but I was still that person that it's probably not going to work for me because I've done so many things for it. But, it's the last thing. I figured if weight loss surgery wasn't going to work, nothing was going to work, and I may as well just please myself and be happy the weight that I was. That was my attitude in the end. It was like the very last, biggest, most drastic thing that I could possibly do. So that's what I did. And as it turns out, things are going well. I was lucky I had a surgeon that did not give me a goal weight. He just said, let's see what happens. And I have a goal weight of my weight just being in a normal BMI, which I know it's not, like but I've got nothing else to kind of pin it against. So we're still 10 or 15 kilos away from that. But if I don't reach it, it doesn't matter. I have changed my life immeasurably right from where I am now. So for that, I'm extremely grateful. And, you know, the actual weight at the end of the day when I'm finished losing doesn't matter. Okay, so questions. These are questions that I get all the time. So I thought it's really good to just go back over them. And I know most people go over these, but it's good to have everybody's different opinion on them, right? So number one, have I had a stall? No. I know everyone says it's normal to stall, but here's the thing. I went into this already, had become a naturopath. I already had a very clean diet. I already knew a lot about dieting. Food, I didn't have an issue with eating. I didn't have an issue with eating too much. So that wasn't kind of my problem. But as I learned more, and I research everything in human design, I have the gate of depth. So I just can't help myself. I have to dive deeper and deeper. And I discovered that the people after weight loss surgery that struggle and have stalls seem to be the ones that consume the most amount of artificial sweeteners and the most amount of processed foods. So I would highly recommend, if you're in a stall and you don't know what to do with it, try just going without the artificial sweeteners and without the processed foods and see what happens for you. Particularly any oils, that's a big thing. But artificial sweeteners, there's studies upon studies to prove that over time artificial sweeteners actually increase weight, because what they do is they keep your cravings alive for sweet things, which makes you actually reach for sweet things, right? So you may have only a very small stomach right now, but you can easily fit in chocolate if you've got a sweet craving, right? So just that's the other thing. I have been consistent about trying to keep my meals, and that was even before I went carnivore. I didn't go carnivore until 6 months in, just before I went to Bali. And so that was just testing something that I'd read about, different things about keeping your insulin levels stable for weight loss. So I still continued to lose, even though I was eating the opposite, mostly plant-based, but I made everything from scratch. It was veggies. I didn't use oils. And if you want to see my actual graph, I'll pop that on the screen right now so you can see where it's at. So I believe, because I kept things pretty clean, and I noticed, if you haven't seen the carnivore video, and you're really stuck in a stall, I'd highly recommend you watch that one after this one. I'll pop that in the notes down below so you can go find that afterwards. When I started playing or experimenting with carnivore, those weeks I had been losing a kilo a week. In fact, on my tracker, because your tracker, if you've got the same tracker, tells you how much you've lost, you know, on average every week. And on average, I haven't quite lost a kilo every week. So it's been steady. However, when I started carnivore, that went up to 3 kilos a week on the weeks that I ate carnivore. So it may be something that pushes you out of your stall, is to completely remove all the carbs. One of the reasons I went on carnivore was because of all of the studies around carbs being a toxin to people with lipedema. So there was a lot more to it than me just going non-carb, and there had to be a lot more to it, because I have had a belief system for all of my adult life that whole foods plant-based was the way to go, right? So this was not an easy thing for me to embrace, but I'm consistently testing it. I'm consistently checking my data on my own stats to see how things go. And it seems to be nothing but positive for me so far. I did engage a carnivore doctor, or a low carb doctor, a doctor that is familiar with people on a very low carb or no carb diet, and knows what to look for and knows how to read results in a way that's appropriate for somebody on that style of diet, because most GPs and my GP for the last 30 years started to freak out. So, so just know that going in, okay? All right, so that's stool. And so when it comes to what weight I will be, it'll be whatever weight my body chooses to level out at. So I can only assume that while I'm eating meat and butter and all these good things, my weight's not going to just keep going to nothing, right? So I'm eating far more calories than I would have done had I been eating a plant-based diet. So it's just going to get to a point where it's happy where it is. So I'm just watching and waiting. Okay. So do I have loose skin? Oh, yes. And I don't have the right appropriate shirt. I'll pop a photo in here somewhere because, it's there. And it's getting major. In fact, in the last week to 2 weeks, suddenly I'm like, oh, that's really bad. Does it upset me? No, it's showing me how much fat I'm reducing from my body. It's like, wow, that's amazing, right? You can dress it. Okay, yes, it's there, but this is still a size 10 shirt. So, which I don't know, for my American friends, I think that's a 6 or something. I don't know. I know Australian sizes are different. So I don't worry about the loose skin. What I will do is once my weight starts to level out and it does start to slow down, then I will start talking to doctors about skin removal surgery. What I will have removed is likely arms, belly, and potentially my thighs. Because I've had lipedema, my thighs are really they're saggier than pretty much everywhere else, so which is really interesting. So there's sort of the areas that I will look at having done once this journey has slowed down from the weight perspective. So, but I'm in no rush because I need my body to be stable before that happens. So, and I know I can have it done at any time. The doctors don't seem to put a time frame on it, but I just want to know. So I'd say I'll be looking at mid next year to late next year to having it done, and which I will keep you apprised of that journey too, if you are interested. Not many people are interested in that side of things. I know my husband's not keen, but he's happy for me to do it. All right. Last question that I get all the time is your hair falling out. I guess it fell out a little bit more than usual. It's really hard because I've got long hair. It only takes a few strands to come out for it to look like the brush is full. But it really hasn't been too much of an issue or too much more. Whether or not that's because I'm having so much protein, I don't know. But one of the biggest things that I did was about a month before surgery, I stopped dyeing my hair, which is why we've got half grey and half blonde. And funnily enough, at the back of my head, this is my natural color, right? So very strange. As soon as I stopped dyeing my hair, even though I was using organic dye and had done for 5 years, if not more, for my thyroid health, as soon as I stopped using dye, I had all this new growth. So you'll see this is all new growth. There is a ton of it. I have to, when I do my hair, I literally have to use oils and all kinds of things to stop all the little bits flying up, and that is regrowth. So the regrowth is more astounding than the loss. So again, like the loose skin, how I feel is far more important than my hair or my loose skin, bar none. I would wear a wig if I needed to. I would shave it off and try G.I. Jane for a while. It's not that important compared to my health, to the fact that my thyroid medication needs a lowering, to the sheer amount of extra pressure off my knees, all of that kind of thing. It's just, these are things that you just deal with one at a time in the best way that you know how, and just keep moving forward. That's that's how I go through it. I also do kinesiology balances on myself most days, because that helps me deal with the emotional aspect. And I think a lot of the times I read in groups that I'm in, people that are really struggling with this process, and they're not doing any of the inner work. They're not doing any of the emotional work, and because this is a big change. Looking at yourself the same way for 30 years, and then suddenly you're 50 kilos lighter, 110 pounds lighter, that messes with the brain. That messes with your amygdala, which wants to keep you safe, your ancient brain. Its job is to keep you safe, and safe for your amygdala is status quo. Safe means nothing changes. It doesn't know my amygdala doesn't know what I look like at 52 years old, 50 kilos lighter. So that's a stress on my ancient brain, right? So I have to continuously calm down my inner self and go, this is good. This is we're safe. This is how it should be. So that's why doing the inner work is it's got to be part of your routine. If you go down this journey, or if you're in this journey and you're struggling, you need to engage somebody, okay, in doing mind, body, soul work with you. Okay, it is the only way to get through it in a way that is going to help all aspects of you. And I believe it's why I've had no stools. At every step of the way, I've been teaching my amygdala that it's safe to be this weight, it's safe to be the next weight. I've also continuously done coffee enemas to help offload the toxic dumping of everything that's in our fat cells. I've got 30 years of toxic fat in my body. So if you're not helping your liver to process that, then it can recycle through your body. So there are a lot of things that I continue to do. It's a job. It is a job, but I'm worth it, as I believe you are. So I hope that's helped. I hope you'll help yourself if you're in the midst of this journey, and add a few more of those things, or take away a few of those things. Take away those processed foods. Take away the artificial sweeteners. Take away the powders and the potions, and that everything has to have, just because it's got 20 grams of protein written on the packet, that doesn't override the 50 grams of carbs that's a rungs down on that same table. If you've got lipedema, if you're stalled, try getting rid of the carbs. But you need to work on your mindset. You need to work on all the things. Okay. That's just my take, and that's my experience so far. So that's me at 9 months, and I will do another one at 12 months. So that'll be just before I go on another holiday down to Perth to see our boy and to do a few things. So I'm really excited to see where I'm at that point in time. So if you're on this VSG surgery or any kind of weight loss surgery journey, I'm sending you all the love in the world and letting you know that you're worth it. You're worth the effort. You're worth the hard work, and nobody else is going to do it for you. All right. See you on the next one.